And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Ness. Yep, that's the name of the game. Now, it's fine. It's a game in which you have your own version of Nessie. It's an abstract strategy game. You are building your tale to go around in different spots. It is both a quick game, but it's somewhat of a thinky game where you plan ahead. Let's take a look. In this game, each player is going to have a bunch of pieces of their color, although the pieces are actually quite different. Each player has essentially the same kind of pieces, but you'll notice that these are not exactly the same. The green one's taller, but you all have the same number of height pieces, the same number of length, it's just the combinations are different. To that end, each player is going to pick their lowest piece, and that's where you're going to put your head and your tail. And these are going to be placed on the board. Players are going to take turns putting them on the board, and that's the beginning and end of their dragon. Now, if you're playing a two-player game, you're only in the dark area. Three-player game uses this area, and fourth player uses all the holes here. And on a player's turn, they're simply going to pick any of their pieces, and they're going to start at the head or the tail. So, for example, maybe I would just simply want to do this. I'll place this here. You're going to put it adjacent, orthogonally, to the final or beginning piece, and then move the head or the tail. So that could be my first piece, while Orange's first piece might be like this, and they move their tail over here. Now, as you're moving stuff, I could, for example, if I was the purple player, I could put a piece here as long as it goes over the other piece. In this case, it does. You can never go under, and you also can never move over the tail or the head part. You can never move over the tail or over the head. So you also can't get stuck, and that's what you're trying not to do. You're trying to put out pieces in such a way that you can keep playing, because the last person who has pieces to put them out is the winner of the game. And that's it. The pieces are very good quality. They fit into these holes here. This is actually placed, the board is placed on top of the insert here, which has some holes in the box, and it works really well. The pieces themselves have a scaled plastic to them, and it's not that hard to pull the head out and place it in the other pieces. That's really it. I mean, there's not much more I can talk about. The pieces are there. It's very clear if they go over or under something. The rules themselves, I mean, this is not a complex game. It just shows you different ways that you can place segments, how they cross other segments, where you can't put a segment, you can't put it underneath it. It's very straightforward, and it talks about an expert variation in the rules where you can place your next piece 2 spaces away from the last one. I tried that once, and it's a little bit more of a head trip to do that. Ness is a very pleasant game, and there's not really a lot to say about it because you just saw how to play it. That's kind of the game. You know from looking at that whether you'll enjoy it or not. I like it. The only thing I might say is the game seems like it could possibly have a first player advantage. Now, that is not born truth, although I've yet to see the last player win. The person who goes last. And maybe there's a way to mitigate that a little bit, or you just take turns and see how many pieces you left over. The 2-player game is fine, and so is the 4-player. 3-player seems like it's the best, but I think I like 4-player the most. Why? Because every 3-player game of this I've played, we have always put out a dragon piece, and you're like, oh no, you can't put it in an outer ring. Happens every time, because it's just easy to forget to do that. While if you're playing with 4 players, you can go to every hole on the board. It also feels, I don't know, it just looks cooler as a 4-player board. This is it. Works for kids, works for adults. Like I said, you want to make it a little bit more thinky, do that jump away too before you put out the next segment, whew, that's a very different ball game. The game is very much in your face. You're putting out pieces so that you can, you're trying to put out pieces to give yourself as many options as possible while attempting deliberately to shut your opponent's sections down so they can't build more things. You can get stuck very easily in this game, so you always have to be careful what piece you put out. And if you find yourself getting too good at the game, switch colors because they're slightly different in how you play each one. A good-looking game, a simple, fun game, a game I think worth checking out. That's Block Ness. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved.